Georgia Tech turned in one of the quietest 9-4 finishes in 2016, just 4-4 in the ACC, but their season was really highlighted by those 3 wins against the SEC Eastern Division. Georgia, their rival in the finale. Of course, earlier in the season, a rout against Vanderbilt, and then the bowl game. A win over Kentucky and Dedrick Mills' 169-yard performance. Unfortunately, after scoring 11 touchdowns in 2016, Dedrick Mills kicked off the football team just weeks before the opener against the Tennessee Volunteers in Atlanta. Mark Rogers TV bringing you college football coverage nonstop, 24/7, 365. Catch the audio versions with some of the best bloggers and broadcasters in the nation joining me here on Mark Rogers TV on Stitcher, Podbean, and iTunes. And of course, we've got the videos right here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are running down every team in the ACC and giving you game-by-game predictions. We have moved through the Atlantic Division. We're now about halfway through the Coastal with the Yellow Jackets. They meet Tennessee, a much-anticipated game between the SEC and the ACC to kick off college football. It's on Labor Day weekend on that Monday night. Tennessee, Georgia Tech. I give the Yellow Jackets, even though they're basically playing at home, at least in the same city, a 40% chance of winning. They don't get it done against Tennessee, the Vols, with an impressive showing against Virginia Tech out of the ACC last season. Jacksonville State, that's not Jackson State, I'm just lazy. So Jacksonville State taking on Georgia Tech the next week. That game is a 95% certainty, and the Yellow Jackets get their first win of the season as they do the next week. Even on the road against Central Florida, a 90% certainty. So they get off to a 2-1 start before wins against Pitt and North Carolina. Then they've got to go to Miami. They face the Canes, most likely the most talented team in the Coastal Division, and Miami defeats Georgia Tech right there. You've got Wake Forest, you've got Clemson. Georgia Tech defeats Wake Forest as expected. They lose to Clemson in that one. That's, of course, the cross-division rivalry game that they always play against the Tigers. Their other non-division game this year comes against, of course, Wake Forest, the game we just mentioned, and they get the win against Wake. Coming down the home stretch, they've got Virginia and Virginia Tech. And yes, I do have a loss against the Cavaliers. So if you go back to the Virginia video, I let you know that I've got to select some upsets. If it's straight chalk, why watch the video? Why make the selections? Georgia Tech loses to Virginia. Once we get to this game on my weekly picks, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to make this selection in November. But for right now, I'm trying to select and find upsets, of course, because they're going to happen. So it seems unlikely, and we only give Virginia a 35% chance of winning, but Georgia Tech has to go to Virginia, and they lose that one. Then they've got a game against Virginia Tech, and it seems unlikely as well. They defeat Virginia, or they lose to Virginia and defeat Virginia Tech, but they get it done at home against the Hokies before falling in the last 2 games of the season to Duke. And Georgia, we believe the Bulldogs will be much improved with Jacob Eason with a year under his belt and 9 returning starters on defense for UGA. So Georgia Tech finishes at 6-6. It's a 4-4 year in the ACC, possibly the best conference in college football. Need to hear from you on the Yellow Jackets, the ACC, and the entirety of college football right here on Mark Rogers TV.